filled. So I think please spread the word. That's what we would like. We want to put vaccine in people's arm. We have plenty of vaccine. We will continue to receive. As you know, County Executive Ryan McMahon is a fierce advocate and a champion to get the any vaccine in our community, day and night, literally. I'm not kidding. It just makes it. I think that's why we have very high vaccination rate at this point. Relative to. So as of it today, I think we have vaccinated. I just wanted to give you, at least before we go to the school, 136 2010 Onondaga County residents have been vaccinated. That's not only from us. That's all. That's a first dosage. And we as a county has vaccinated 36,128 as of 322. So these are good numbers to think. And then we will continue to vaccinate. And our now doctors are getting them too. So there will be more opportunity for people to get the main concern, I think, at this point will be vaccine hesitancy, and also opening the eligibility to everyone, like 16 and older and 18 and older for Pfizer and Moderna respectively. Pfizer can be given to 16 and older individual, and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson can be given to 18 and older. So what we would like to governor to open up for eligibility for everyone, because we want to vaccinate young people who are actually the one who are becoming the cases nowadays. If you look at your data, most of it, I think, as I looked at even yesterday and day before, and we'll have today's data too, is that we started to see shift where the cases are. They were always more younger population. They were just sharing that infection with their elderly grandparents or parents in some situation, or to friends and families, extended family. So now they have been, a good number of them have been vaccinated. So they are pretty much reinfecting, they are infecting each other and having the problems, at least when we see our numbers kind of staying about 50s, 60s in there, and we really want them down further. So as soon as we get that okay from the governor, I think we can vaccinate many people. So that's what our vaccination effort is going on at this point.
So one of the other things that I wanted to chat with you about today is schools, and proud that we came out, I don't want to take any credit for that, the 3-foot rule, and now the CDC has joined with that recommendation. Can you just talk a little bit about, I know I hear from school districts and there's an expense that goes along with having to do the plastic barriers. Is that going to stick? Where are we at in terms of being able to get all of our children safely back in school?
Right. So as you know, we were the trailblazer to do the first thing from the 6 feet to 3 feet. And basic reason was the common sense, right? At this point, the cases had trended down. The cases have not been, in the children, they have not been high. At any point, there was no transmission. So when county executive came and talked to me and say, hey, I want you to, Dr. Gupta, I want you to look into this. And I said, it does make, so initially, you gather information and you try to say, does the evidence support, does the data support that we certainly can say to the school district that I think you should consider at this point. We can recommend them, we cannot require them to decrease the distance. And the reason being is that the kids have been out of the school for, even the hybrid system, it still creates a lot of confusion. How can we get them more? And one of those sentences I use from and I will just, it's pretty much is from American Academy of Pediatrics, and it's quote unquote, right? Schools and school-supported programs are fundamental to child and adolescent development and well-being, and provide our children and adolescents with academic instructions, either in person or virtually, social and emotional skills, safety, reliable nutrition, physical, occupational, speech therapy, mental health services, and opportunities for physical activity, among other benefits. Beyond supporting the educational development of children and adolescents, school play a critical role in addressing racial and social equity. It is so important that what happens today will impact the kids. And then we really need to live in present as well as think of the future. So the data was in support. And that's how on March 4th, we put the proposal forward, which is posted on our website. I hope all of you go and are looking at the website. Hopefully periodically I'll be able to share, if you want me to, that where it's located. Based on the data, then a few days, I think when on March 16, then I put this one. I think you might have seen this. It's posted on our website. If you want, I'll be happy to share that on our website, but I think you all can and see it. It has every statement is supported by the evidence. The footnote has all the active links, so I worked hard on it quite a bit. So I wish you would all read it. It gives you information about that, you know, the classrooms and 6 feet to 3 feet and why we thought that way. And at that time, we kind of stayed with the CDC, and the state is to a great extent is put the barriers in between, because that's how it was in CDC language as well as it was in state language. However, I was so pleased to see on Friday that when CDC came out, they say, hey, that's good. So I did discuss with the county executive, and I said I would recommend to remove them, and he is on board, and that's what we are going to recommend. State is looking into it. They have not done it, and I think our community is ready for those things. So we are going to put an addendum to this and then put officially update on the website also, and then we'll be talking to the superintendent. There are certain situations I think people might feel more comfortable putting him. So it's not that one shouldn't feel. Sometimes parents feel uncomfortable. Sometimes schools want to do if they have it. You know, those kind of things that how do they balance it out? But most of it, it seems like we certainly would be okay if we have kids in the 3 feet with the mask. This cannot go away anywhere at this point. You know, keep the mask on, make sure hand washing, temperature checking during the transportation, how they do that for the kids, for the buses, as well as in their physical education class, as well as in music. 6 feet, I think that's something they can do. So a lot of those things they have to look at their school population, and they look at the infection rate in their own school. And then after that, they make the decision based on they can do all full like everybody, or just go by the grade by grade, or they go by maybe elementary first and then middle first. That's up to them. The guidance is provides them sort of a toolkit right now, or provides them recommendation how they can take it to the next step to bring more kids back. But at any time, if we see in school transmission, we will act exactly the same way as we did essentially if we started to see the problem, because you need to be aggressive in the beginning. Otherwise, once his horse is out of the barn, you can't put the horse back in the barn. That's the problem. So we really will need to be very cognizant, and all superintendents are willing to work with us, and they have been working, and we have a great relationship with them. So
thank you. Okay, yeah, those plastic barriers I know they're a financial issue. It's great the feds are sending money now to our schools, but I think that will give more options to districts, you know, that need it. And does anybody else have any questions for Dr. Gupta? Then I wanted to you guys are in your email, Dr. Gupta had sent along a resolution. I'm going to sponsor it, and Dr. Chase, you were interested in co-sponsoring or sponsoring as well, correct? I just want to make sure I'm not. Yeah.
Yes.
You guys you're wanting to add the lab director position back. Can you just talk a little bit about it? We are not going to vote on it. It's likely potentially going to go to Ways and Means, but everybody here should be aware of it. So would you just, and it's in your email. You guys will have it today. So just when you get a chance, check it out. Okay.
So we have a lab director for the Center for Forensic Sciences forever. I mean, lab needs a director because it's an accredited lab. So Dr. Corrada retired in October 31st. That was a Halloween gift, not for the minutes. Sorry. I was very disappointed. I was wish her all the best. I mean, she was a great director, and we miss her dearly. But life has to move on, right? We have a finite time, so we we did quite a bit of intense search for a director, nationwide search, because it's a very unique specialty. Not many people are qualified to do that. So there are not many people available. For a month, actually, we couldn't even find it. There was zero application coming, and just feel like, oh my God, how will we get there? So finally, we got few good applicants, and then we reviewed the applications, and then pretty much found few qualified individuals we interviewed. And our top candidate essentially is very qualified, has a Master of Science in Biomedical Forensic Science from Boston University, as well as MBA, which is very unique thing to have in a lab director, because you, as the lawmakers, you look for fiscal responsiveness. So that is, here you go, you have an MBA. That is something does help, from the University of Missouri, St. Louis, and have very extensive experience in forensic science. Have been working in this area for 11 years. Quality assurance manager, which is a very key important part of this work, because the precision is the key in forensic science to support the work of the law enforcement or to the defendant. So I think it's just something, it works it both ways. So this is a very key part of the director. And this candidate has also many other forensic biology, DNA technician, DNA analyst, all these certain other varieties which come, they are within the lab. This candidate has that quite experience in doing hands-on also. So that makes it a very good candidate. In addition to that, this candidate serves as a mentor in the accreditation initiative through the American Society of Crime Lab, which is a program that provides mentorship. So that adds further to the qualification. And on one more thing is, we have acquired a very sophisticated quality management system called Qualtrics, which is used for accreditation, document management, and reporting. And this candidate really knows how to work this out. We are in initial phases of implementing it. So as a director who sees that and can go right on to work where Dr. Kurata left, will be really a time saver, will be a blessing for us. So we are but the only, and our lab is accredited, as you are aware, and it's very, we have 35 support staff, scientists and technician combined. Many of them, majority of them are scientists. So to oversee such a highly skilled lab, we need a qualified candidate. Considering a smaller number of candidates, to attract them, we have to incentivize. And that's what we compared some of the salaries also. So our proposal was, at this point, will entrust this candidate if that will, the salary will be to step 13. It's $139,937, which is I think it's a grade 39, step 13. So we were looking to have that approved. Once that is approved, only then we will be able to move forward.
Okay, thank you very much for the info. Does anybody have anything else before we move along?
Yes, I'd like to ask Dr. Gupta. I thought, and I'm not sure when this was, maybe 3-4 years ago, we were going to try to team with Upstate and have some type of mentoring training program for people that wanted to get into this field. Did anything ever come with that, or am I mistaken?
So I don't know about Upstate. Mainly, we do get the interns. SU, we have a good relationship with the SU. So SU has been working through quite a bit. Is Kathy Hum is there? Is Kathy, are you there still? Mm-hmm. Can you speak about that with the SU or Upstate? I know SU, we work quite a bit.
Hi, this is Kathy. I'm just to introduce myself. I'm currently the interim lab director at the lab, in addition to being the permanent quality assurance manager at the laboratory. To answer Mr. Kinney's question, we do typically take interns from the Syracuse University Forensic program. They have a master's program and an undergraduate program. So they specialize in education for forensic science. So we have taken some interns from there. With regards to interns from upstate, I believe that we have had some interns from Upstate Medical University before. However, we get a large number of students asking for internships from our laboratory. So we have to be somewhat selective with who we can take into our lab, especially since we do such specialized work. But we are certainly interested in, taking on interns who are interested in forensic science if we can.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you both. Have a good week. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thanks,
So we're
thank
going to
you.
go on to item number 3, and we have our Deputy County Executive Ann Rooney joining us, along with Damian Pratt, who is our Director of Juvenile Justice Services at Hillbrook. And we're interested to find out how the expansion is going. Welcome.
Damien, take it away.
Unmute, Damian.
How about there?
Perfect. Thank
Can you hear
you.
me now?
Yes, thank you so much.
And thanks for the opportunity to speak to all of you this afternoon. Wanted to give a brief overview of the status of the capital project that we are, just a year into and a mere 2 weeks away from completion, kind of just refreshing everybody's memories and also providing, some slides of what was accomplished during the project and then kind of what our next steps are. So if the slideshow could get advanced. So the project included a variety of things, most significantly increasing the overall capacity of the facility. Currently we have 32 dormitory units, and the project increases our capacity to 50 overall units. Again, those 32 beds right now are made up of 4 8-bed units. With the project that's just reaching completion, we'll have an additional orientation unit, which is an 8-bed unit, which I'll explain in a little bit greater detail in a moment, and also 5 beds added to, current existing 8-bed units. Also a relocation of our medical isolation or our medical suite, which is going to be closer to our admissions area, and also several security upgrades, which I'll speak to in a moment. Next slide, please. So the orientation unit, this 8-bed unit, the purpose is for receiving new youth into the facility. Currently, youth that are admitted into the facility are assigned to one of the 4 traditional housing units, but this orientation unit is going to allow for increased safety protocol. Essentially, young people being admitted into the facility will be able to spend their initial week with us in the orientation unit. By doing that, we'll have an opportunity to learn about the young people, potential conflicts they may have with other current residents. That first week, we see a lot of young people either make bail or released on their own recognizance, or placed on an alternative to detention program. This will allow for them to be isolated to a section of the building without ever being assimilated into the general population of the building. So as I mentioned, the orientation unit's made up of 8 dormitories, as well as a unit lounge for recreation purposes and a unit classroom. As you can see from the pictures, the only purpose that the only time that they'll enter into the current facility proper is to recreate in the gym or to get services in our social work hallway. Next slide, please. A redesigned medical suite, which we're very excited about. Currently, our medical department is located in a section of the building far from our admissions area. I think that it stands to reason. It makes a lot of sense to have your medical area as close to admissions as possible for new youth that are being admitted into the facility to allow us to in a timely fashion, ensure that they're, medically okay. Every young person that comes into the facility has a physical, especially right now with everything that all of us are experiencing with COVID. It makes a lot of sense having medical services really at the front end of the building where young people are coming in initially. We also have a new clinical office for our licensed master social worker, which also allows for, observation space so we can safely supervise while maintaining confidentiality. Next slide, please. Also, some security upgrades that I referenced in the first slide. A lot of these security measures are things that are actually required through State Commission of Corrections regulations, as well as State Office of Children and Family Service. Some of these measures didn't apply to us previous to Raise the Age when we were strictly a secure detention facility. Now, because we have that dual designation as a specialized secure facility and oversight from that additional state agency, there's certain things that we need, like a vehicular sally port. We also have a system that allows for staff checking on residents, especially during the overnight hours, to ensure that they're conducting those room observations as necessary. And we also have undergone a significant upgrade in all of the facility hardware to the doors facility wide. And that new door hardware that was installed during 2020 is also going to be utilized throughout all the new sections of the building. Next slide, please. Oh, and that was it. So the overall project, as I mentioned, we're anticipating being completed in the next 2 weeks. Our next steps are really to, at some point, be coming back and asking for the request to fill positions necessary to staff the new sections of the building, and also to come into compliance because we're increasing our overall capacity. The necessity to also increase some of our other support services like enhancements to our
Amy, can I interrupt for just a second?
Sure.
It's not to ask to fill positions, it's to create new titles.
Correct. And some of those are to, increase the capacity of our education department and social work departments so we can come into compliance with, we're currently in compliance with all of our ratios. But obviously when the building increases in capacity.
And one other, we didn't include this in the budget, just so all of you know, because we weren't sure when we were putting the budget together, the impact of COVID on when the project would be completed. We've been able to keep it on schedule. So that's why we're having to come mid-year to ask for the positions.
And how many positions are you anticipating?
A total of 17.
Okay.
And
Great to see
Damien, can you talk a little bit about how they will, by and large, be covered by other than local funds?
Sure, Ann. So the way that the building is, the funding's reimbursed through New York State currently. Obviously, we've got a mixture because there's only 6 detention facilities in New York State. We have a mix of both in-county and out-of-county residents. All residents that we're housing on behalf of other counties are obviously reimbursed at 100%. As far as all the local Onondaga County youth in the facility, any youth affected or impacted by the Raise the Age legislation, from 2018, are also reimbursed at 100%. So that's any young people that are with us that are 16 or older. For all other youth, so what our traditional youth justice population was, youth under the age of 16, those young people we still do receive reimbursement for, but that's only at 49%. Currently, as of today, we've got 31 residents, and out of those 31 residents, 24 are 100% reimbursed through either a combination of the Raise the Age legislation or because they're out of county. 7 of our residents, the backing behind those 7 would be 49%. you know, we've seen some fluctuations in our population over the course of the last year because of Raise the Age, because of COVID. But what we really believe is this current between 80 and 85% of all residents with us being 100% reimbursed is kind of what we're anticipating moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do. When we're talking about the reimbursement, is that included when we're talking about hiring staff? Would that be an ongoing staff cost for reimbursement? Or when you come to ask for the positions, then we're talking about taking them out of the county budget?
So how it works is all of the costs of the building are submitted to state OCFS.
Right,
Those costs are broken up and divided out based off of our population. So when we house residents from other counties, we don't physically take payment from any of the other sending counties. It all is reimbursed directly through New York State, and then they rectify that with the sending counties at a later time. So I believe what financial operations does is they submit, I think it's quarterly, you know, submittals, and we are reimbursed based off of number of care days between that split I spoke about earlier.
so it's not personnel.
It's the overall cost of the building that, you know, our operating expenses. There are certain positions within the building that are 100% reimbursed. So the example I could give is there was a requirement under the legislation for us to create a rapid response team that responds to critical emergency situations. Every individual in that position, because it was required by the legislation, it wasn't an incremental increase in capacity, it was something brand new that the new law required. Those positions are all 100% reimbursed, you know, through the legislation. So it is my understanding that all 17 positions that we're asking for are 100% covered by the legislation and will be submitted in our quarterly requests to the state.
Oh, okay. Do we know how long this state reimbursement's going to go on? Is this, well, you said you'll be doing it quarterly. So I know my understanding was that they were going to reimburse to get us up and going. So I guess if you ask quarterly, then that will be the way things are being handled from henceforth.
So
Right,
I
Ian?
don't, Damien, there's been no indication that there's going to be any change in the Raise the Age reimbursement. And the other part of this with the expansion, as Damien pointed out, we're only one of 6 detention facilities in the state. So any youth, either way, any youth that we take out of county is 100% reimbursable by that county. So, and obviously that pays the cost of staff. So we have a mixture of what we get from the state anyways, plus the 100% out of county, and plus the fact that the state has not said that they are going to discontinue the 100% for the Raise the Age. They've made the commitment on the capital improvement of the facility, which
Right.
you all know, and that bond extends for 20 years. So even if they were to move off the 100% at some time, it would take legislative approval, and also is very likely to be a gradual decrease. It would be unforeseeable that they would ever be able to go from 100 to 0. So even now, what is our reimbursement on the juvenile delinquents, Damien? 49?
Correct.
So we get 49 on the juvenile delinquents who are housed with us, which is very few. But that should give you a better sense of where we are with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The other element to this is, we're currently at capacity. We've always had and will always have enough space, if necessary, for youth in Onondaga County. But we're on average turning away other counties that are looking to potentially admit youth on average 2 to 3 a day. There's a statewide shortage in detention beds because there wasn't a capacity statewide for raise the age. And we have been the only county and the only facility to be able to make significant increases to our capacity and expansions. I think that we've always been a good partner with New York State, and they realize because of how we are centrally located, they approved our plan for expansion when other facilities had made similar requests and weren't approved. So I'm just bringing that up because from a sustainability standpoint, we always utilized out of county admissions to kind of offset some of our local costs while providing a service to the region.
So Damien, how many of our 31 are older kids?
So by older, if we're saying the 16 and older population,
Yeah,
out of 31, 22.
wow.
Yep,
Wow.
22.
So I imagine that has changed the whole environment up there.
I think that there's been a lot of things that have changed the whole environment. Just hearing the presentation earlier from the adult and long-term care, COVID has fundamentally changed the
Awful.
way day-to-day operations is for everyone. We've been able to adapt and honestly couldn't have done it, without great partners in emergency management and Department of Facilities and the health department that really came in and provided an incredible level of support to us. It's almost too early to tell kind of what changed things because there were so many variables. We're seeing young people with us for a much greater length of time. And so I think out of all, the 31 residents, 13 were admitted during 2020. We've got young people that have been with us for over a year, which, traditionally for a facility that just has young people predispositionally, before they're either adjudicated or sentenced, that's a long time. And it's really forced us to look at some other ways of programming. You mix in the lack of movement from, court appearances being adjourned and court appearances happening remotely and youth being disconnected to a greater extent from their families than they have been due to, decreased visitation. There's a lot of contributing factors. I think that we've also got some really exciting things that we're doing with youth, both educationally and socially, that the more and more COVID lets us kind of loosen things up, the more we're going to be able to provide. We had our first ever graduate, a young person, get their Regents diploma with us last week.
Good.
That's something that previously never happened that we were really excited about celebrating that young man's accomplishment, who actually the Syracuse City School District Superintendent, principal from Corcoran, came up to award him his diploma. It was something that, was really special. So things do change. I think we're just trying to, to use the language from the earlier presentation, figure out how we can pivot to meet the needs of the residents.
Can I ask a question, please?
Absolutely. Legislator Kinney.
Thank you. So I'm a little bit confused, and maybe it's just an accounting standpoint. You're reimbursed 100%, you said, for these out of state people, out of county people, children. So where does that money go to? How is it accounted for? Because if you've got, it seems to me if you've got 5 staff, I'm just throwing that number out there, that are watching kids, and 4 of them are watching dealing with the kids from out of the county, but we're paying for them. How is that recorded?
So what happens is the out-of-county youth aren't separated from the in-county youth. They're just part of our population. I believe what financial operations does first is they segregate out the positions that are 100% related to raise the age, and they request reimbursement for those positions. Then they take all the remaining expenses out of our operating budget and submit based off of care days. So if you have, 20 staff and you determine that 80% of your care days are attributed to this older population, this raise the age population, we would look to get back 80% of all our operating expenses that are connected. The remaining 20%, we would request, the 49% reimbursement for. It would really be an accounting question. I don't know how they separate out and settle the out of counties later on, because again, those are viewed differently. It's the sending county that has that, that settle up that they have to do with New York State later on. So we're kind of, the benefit is we're completely removed from having individual counties submit expenses to us for youth that they have with us. We just look for 100% reimbursement for all out of counties and raise the age youth, all remaining youth, to 49%.
Okay, thanks. So maybe I'd like to request that, Julie, if it's possible, that we get a snapshot for, let's say, any month and see how that's broken down and out and explained, so that we have a better understanding of what it's actually costing the local taxpayer.
If that's something you'd like, and that's something that Damien can produce, I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Thank you very much. I don't need it right away, Damien. I know you're busy, but I mean, sometime.
No, we should be able to put something together for you without a problem.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Damien and Ann, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I know it's been a long meeting, but we have a lot to cover and a lot going on. That's very important to our shareholders. I think we all agree. And our decision-making process. So thank you. I just need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll move.
Legislator Chase, second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Legislator Kinney. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everybody have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine. Thank you.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.